Hi, today we're doing Grade 10 CAT Module 1.2 Software. We're going to talk about application versus system software. First of all, let's look at application software. This is the software that you use every day when you use your computer. And whenever you do a specific task, like word processing or surfing the internet, you are using a specific task. You're using a specific software like a word processor or a browser, and that would be application software. So we've got examples: a word processor, a spreadsheet software like Excel, or even gaming software. These are all application software. So system software is the other kind, and this is software that controls, supports, or operates the computer. And you'll immediately think of the operating system, which is correct, but there's another category within system software too, and that's called utility software. So what is an operating system? Well, it's the software that controls all the activities that take place inside your computer. So if you use a Windows computer, you might think that there's nothing else, no other operating systems that exist. But actually there are many. There's also the Apple operating systems. There's the one called Mac OS, which is used on Apple Mac computers. And then there's Linux, and that is used, and that is free of charge. It's also open source, and you can get hold of the software and change it if you are skilled enough and you know what you're doing. And then there's also all the operating system for smartphones, like Apple's iOS or Android for other smartphones. There's even a Windows version for smartphones. So the functions of the operating system: it manages all the hardware and software on your computer. It maintains the security, so it uses passwords and etc. to make sure that your computer is safe. And it provides a user interface. The graphical user interface is what all computers use these days. It means that you can click on certain items and something happens on your computer. So instead of having to remember all sorts of commands to tell your computer what to do, you have little icons and all sorts of little pictures that you can click on. So your desktop looks something like this. And then you have things called menus, where you can click on different buttons. And you have a whole lot of shortcut keys. For example, if you use a word processor, you've got all sorts of little shortcut keys. There are also other Windows components. There's what we call a dialog box, which opens up when you want to do certain tasks on your computers. There's a little box that opens up with different items that you can select there. There's another dialog box, for example, if you're trying to set the tabs up in your word processing. And this part of the dialog box is called a text box. You can type text into that. Then you get what is called a spinner. There's a little arrow going up and down on the right, and you can spin that to increase the figure shown in the box. There's what we call radio buttons. They are all little dots which you click on to choose one of the items in that little box. And then we get a command button, and that's just an item that you click on. So in a dialog box, we also have a thing called a tab in dialog. We have a combo and list box where you can click on the arrow and a whole list pops up and you can choose one of the items. And we also have a checkbox, which is the one where you can tick or untick the box depending on what you are selecting. The other part of system software is what we call utilities. So if you use the snipping tool, that is actually a utility. It is not a complete part of applications. It's not a whole application because it does not do one huge task for you. It's just a useful little extra program that helps you use your computer. That's why we call it, well, that's why it's part of utilities. And if you use your calculator, that is also categorized as a utility. Then there's even the recycle bin, and if you defragment your disk, the part of your operating system that takes care of user accounts and security, antivirus software, all your software updates, your system cleanup, the encryption and decryption that goes on behind the scenes in your computer, and the formatting. These are all part of your utilities. Application software, if you have an Office suite, which you probably use because you're doing CAT, you have your word processor, a spreadsheet program, you have a database program, which the one in Microsoft Office is called Access, and you will start using it from grade 11. And then you have presentation software, which is PowerPoint. Other application software is communication software. Here I've got a little icon for Outlook. You can have desktop publishing software, which is if you want to create magazine pages or very smart pages more for publishing, gaming software, and web authoring software, although a lot of web authoring can be done online now through an internet browser and different online sites that offer web authoring like Wix. Other applications are your web browser. Here we have Chrome, Firefox, Opera, Safari, and Edge illustrated in the picture. Then you have plugins. These are things like if you want to add an extra feature to your browser, you would add a plugin. And then we have financial applications. A good example is Pastel. And if you're doing accounting at school, you would probably use that. And that's all for today's lesson. Goodbye from Claire's Cat.